everybody.
Hello.
We're back. Tracy leaves tomorrow, so we're going to save another podcast and post it later. But right now we're going to discuss the 3 businesses. And I'll let Tracy explain it.
Okay, so I believe there are 3 businesses. 1 is your business. The 2nd is other people's business. And the 3rd business is God's business. And when we find we're in other people's business or in God's business, we have a lot of anxiety and a lot of problems and pressure that comes with that. So what is your business? Your business is what's in your circle of control. What can I do about it? Other people's business is what can they do about it? What's their issues? What has to do with them that you cannot control that have to do with them?
And this especially applies to grown children.
Grown children and friends. Like you want to help friends. I mean, it can apply to the person that's driving in the car next to you. What is their business? What's my business? And then the 3rd one is God's business. And this is business nobody has control over. Getting cancer, people make things like that. Those are God's business. Also, God's business is when sometimes if you're stepping on other people's business, you're also in God's business.
Oh, say that again. Like when you're stepping into other people's business, you're stepping into God's area.
Yeah. Because
we're to help people.
Yeah. We want to help people and do what we can.
But it's not our job to create the result.
Right. If we're trying to control somebody else.
Right. Or
trying to influence them for what we feel is good, we may be stepping on God's business or their business.
And Tracy has a very easygoing relationship with all of her children. And so she applies to all sorts of parts of her life. For me right now, I have sometimes my relationship with my adult children can be a little bit strained. And I'm just like, I've had to learn to, letting go is part of it, but you have to just go, what can it be? Because they have to choose too. They have free agency to tell what kind of relationship they want with me. But I can still love, even if it's from a distance, But you just have to can't control it. So I don't want to cry all the time. So I want to be happy. So I've had to learn what's God's part and what's my part. And just do your best.
And one indication that whether you're not in your own business is if you're in high anxiety. A lot of high anxiety could be, what am I thinking about? Are my thoughts about other people? Or am I thoughts about things that I can't have any control over? A lot of this problem comes with social media. We look at the problems of life and things like that.
And compare.
And all those things that we cannot do anything about, that's out of our control, is none of our business.
It's interesting. I don't know I hope this applies. I hope I say this right. But I've noticed that when I was heavier, my self-worth came from working or from doing parties and other things for other people, making everybody else happy. And I wanted to control how everybody was feeling because I wanted everybody to feel good and have fun because that made me valuable. After I lost weight, though, and I focused more on myself, and I'm not even sure it's a selfish way. It's like, that's when I learned I'll accept what my kids' relationship can be.
Right.
Versus warning. I don't want to keep warning what I thought it could be. I want to enjoy what it can be. And so I feel like the more I've lost weight and focused on what I can do for what's my business, the more I am able to be happy.
And I think mothers and women focus on happiness. What they perceive is happiness. So if somebody's not feeling happy, or what we think is happy, we feel like we have to fix that. I'm guilty of that. I have to fix it. I have to find out how to make them happy. I got to take care of this. I've got to control that. Instead of allowing them to take care of themselves. And that can apply to children too. I think sometimes when we're adults and we get into children's business, we make it bigger. And children need to take care of their own business.
Yes.
As long as it's not something legal and another adult doesn't get involved, or illegal, or any of huge things that need to be taken care of. If they can take care of themselves, you need to allow your child to take care of it.
Give me an example of the 2 differences.
What do you mean?
As long as it's not illegal. And
so if your child has is drugs, anything like that, heavy partying, if they have a friend.
What can you do about it? You really can't change that either.
You can't when they're older, but you can when they're younger.
Yes.
If there's
when they're younger, yes. But I want to tell you something. When your kids are being brought up, you can't control every little thing, all the relationship with their friends and everything. However,
Agreed.
I can decide what I contribute to. For instance, I don't have to give them the keys to their car. It's not really their car, it's my car. Or the phone. I don't have to make it easy for them to communicate with partying friends and all that kind of thing. That doesn't mean I'm punishing, really. I can just be like, you can do your own life. I mean, because I can't control you all the time at 16, 17 years old, but I don't have to buy into it and support it with my money, finances, cars, and phones and that kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Right.
So I've had to learn how to differentiate that.
Well, and if you find they're going into a real big depression, you need to be able to help with that. If it's school, are teachers causing some problems? And if I first want my children to try and take care of their own problems with their teachers, they need to learn how to work with a teacher, because then that'll help them in their job opportunities.
Absolutely.
If I feel like the problem is something they can take care of themselves, then I'm going to leave it to them. If they don't take care of it, I'm still going to leave it to them, right? They're going to have to deal with that. But if a teacher gets involved in a way that I need to step in, okay, a principal or something like that, then I need to step in. Then
the teachers are always wrong. I do hate that mentality, but but sometimes it warrants, parent-teacher conversation.
Yeah,
Like
and it could be something that you need to talk to the teacher to get a better understanding to help your child understand, right? Where the teacher's coming from. So, you're looking at both perspectives. So there are times that you do need to step in to help them out. Right. But for the most part,
you can't control the outcome all the time.
No.
That's the difference.
Huge.
That's another person.
Okay. So the woman who created Mother's Day, she loved her mother so much, she wanted to have Mother's Day, and she actually pushed for Mother's Day, right? Mother's Day happened. It became more, what do you call that? Where you go and buy stuff all the time. It became more
commercialized.
Yes, commercialized. Thank you. So it became more commercialized. She hated that. So then she was against Mother's Day, right? Well, she put Mother's Day out there. You can't collect it back, right?
Right.
Once it's out, she needed to let it go, but she didn't. She kept going after it. And it actually made her very upset and sad. It's like the guy who was walking down the street. He bends down to pick up a string and put it in his pocket. Well, somebody said they thought he had picked up somebody's wallet. Well, the police came over to check his pockets. They found out it was a string and not a wallet, and that he was not, but he felt like they accused him unfairly, and he obsessed in his life. It was just a string. It was just a string, And so because someone had a different thought about him, he had made it and changed it into something big, right? Well, it's done. And so this comes up with, how do I stay out of other people's business? Okay. There are a few ways. One is I have a mantra that I repeat. So let's say one of my children, this is for me, you'll have to make your own, or you can take mine, but this is how
you can borrow hers.
If you need to. But if you don't believe the way I do, you can make your own. So if one of my children is going through something that I can do nothing about, and I find myself with a habit, it is a habit that comes into your mind, these thoughts that keep going, thinking about the child, I will say to myself, God's got this. He's got this. He's got this, right? It's in his hands. If it's something to do with a doctor's got this. He'll take care of it, because I can't do anything about this. And
also, I have found that when I go, my mother actually said this to me, but I've raised my kids the very best that I can. Nobody's had a perfect mother, that's for sure. But I know for a fact that I tried really, really hard. So I need to have confidence that my kids have the tools.
You have good kids.
Yes, they have the tools to figure things out. I don't have to solve all their problems. These are confident kids. They got it. They've got it. They know where to look to for peace and joy. And that's one thing they do know. I'm really proud of that. One thing is that my children have strong feelings for God and for family. And I'm so grateful for that, because they know where to look to.
You have a loving family.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's one thing, is to repeat in my head over and over, because it will just keep going. And because it repeats, I make up my own repeat to counteract the repeating. So that's one. The other thing is I make my own story. So
I love this part.
So let's say I'm driving down the road, somebody cuts me off. Road rage, could get angry, but I don't want to be angry. And so I'll make up a story to make this person like, oh, maybe they had to go to the bathroom really fast. Maybe somebody's in the emergency room. I did that. I've done that.
They're late for a funeral.
Maybe they're late for a funeral. Or
Maybe they just found out they had cancer.
Yeah, I've done this to I've done it myself, so I give them grace. And that's what it's about. It's about giving grace.
I've had to say that with my kids too.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not feeling good about themselves right now. Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe they're stressed out. Maybe they have a lot to do.
Right.
It's not about me.
No.
What somebody thinks about you or whatever is none of your business.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a good person and you're doing the best you can, now, should you say sorry? Oh, for sure. If you find that there's something that you should apologize for, you should definitely apologize for. Be honest and take responsibility for that. But if they can't accept it, then you just say they can't accept it right now. Right. Something must be happening.
I like how you create the story so that you don't have to feel upset. It's not, and also it's not like not being real. It's creating your life and how you deal with things.
Yeah, I had a friend who something happened. I was at work. Something happened, and I was just like, oh, maybe something. This. And my friend was like, well, you're letting them get away with it. And I'm going, okay, what am I letting them get away with? I mean, I'm not in their ear all day saying, you're terrible, you're terrible. Like I'm not bothering them. They can live their life perfectly fine. But I'm poisoning myself. I keep thinking and thinking and thinking about it. And it becomes a terrible part of my life. I then get upset. I might get upset at my child because I'm upset. I'm not perfect at this, of course. But if I make this story that, oh, maybe something happened.
Right.
Maybe something stressful.
How you can hear something? It's kind of like whenever you hear something, and you can be mad at somebody, but then you hear a backstory and your whole demeanor changes. Well, before you don't have to really go find the real story to be able to create that feeling.
No. You get a perspective change.
Right. Just you can put your own story in there until you really know what's going on. But you can put your own story in there so that you can change how you're feeling because it's lighter and it feels better.
Well, and here's the other thing. Even if they were terrible at me, as long as it's not a threat to my life.
Right. I've had to apply this so much with my kids.
If it doesn't, it's not a threat to me, then I'm going to make it up. Right. Because here's the thing. People who are sad and angry and get upset with you, something happened to them. Something happened and they are very sad.
Even if it's entitlement.
Yes.
Because an entitled person, I've never met a happy entitled person.
I'm not saying no. And here's the other thing. I'm not saying you should let people get away with things.
No, but you can take yourself out of the punching ring.
Yes.
Like I might not want to, I can forgive people who molested me, but it doesn't mean I have to be within their range of punch.
Right.
I can put myself outside the range of hurting me.
Right. And, if you need to take somebody to court to get justice for what's happened, okay, do that. But you don't have to be vicious. You don't have to be horrible about it.
You can just change. You can still protect yourself, but you can also change your perspective. Think about it. Our lives aren't in danger like it used to be back in the caveman days. God had to put that inside of us because they had to protect themselves and survive. But now I would say 95% of our things our brains can control.
Yeah. And plus, don't you want to be happy?
Right.
I
don't want my happiness attached to somebody else.
Yeah.
Because then you won't be happy.
And here's the other thing. People are like, well, you live in a bubble. Yes, I do. Thank you. I'm glad you noticed. I do it on purpose. You live in your bubble too. But what kind of bubble do you live in? You create the bubble you live in. And there's
nothing wrong with living in a bubble.
No.
I've actually used that phrase, like, I just don't live in a bubble. But the truth is, I've learned that creating your bubble is not avoiding reality.
No.
It is choosing happiness. Isn't that strange? You're not avoiding reality. I have a very realistic view of my relationships in my life. But I'm choosing to be happy with what can be.
Yeah.
Versus what it's not. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Bubble doesn't mean you don't know what's going on.
Right.
It just means
it's creating your happiness. It's not avoiding reality.
Right. It's what can I do?
Right.
What's in my circle and where I want to go. And I think that's important. I actually think that's huge.
And also, I've seen this on Facebook and I've heard it a million times, but what other people think of you is really none of your business. And I thought that was a really cute cliche thing, like just a fun thing to say, but really when I've applied it to my life. And listen, you have to understand that I've had a lot of criticism in my life. You can't be a fat ex-con dance teacher and not have a lot of criticism in your life. You can't, and I have very vocal children. I can sit here and really tear myself up, but I've decided that when I look at somebody and I like what they think is not my business.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm walking down the street trying to get myself healthier, back when I was, 250 pounds, if they're calling me names, it's really just none of my business.
And I got to say something too. This is what I've taught my children. If you're my friend, don't pass on terrible stuff to me. If you heard something, this is huge. If you've heard something that's terrible about your friend, if it affects their health, if it affects something that's pertinent to them, okay, you need to tell them. That needs to be taken care of. But if it's just something negative, are you really their friend? If I hear something,
especially when they can't change it today.
Yes. If somebody tells me something terrible about Pam, I'm not telling her. I am not saying a word. Why? What's the purpose?
Somebody was trying to tell me something negative a little bit about a text or something, and Tracy goes, she doesn't need to hear that. And she's right. I don't need to hear it.
Yeah.
I don't need to make it my business.
Right. It really is.
But I have to tell you, there's also examples of, I had a friend one time in Showtime tell me when she said there was a conversation of women talking about you at this restaurant. But she wasn't telling me for me to get mad at those people. She was telling me so that I knew who my friends were.
Yeah.
So that I was aware of, and I actually appreciate this friend so much. Consider her a friend to this day, and we don't hang out.
Mm-hmm.
It's because that was out of protection, not out of get mad at them, make me more important. She wasn't trying to get closer to me. She was wanting me to know who my friends were. That's different because you're contributing to a solution.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's just information that you can't change, do you need to know?
Right. I will always pass on good. And you and I kind of disagree on this part. But I think that anytime anybody says anything good to you, you should just accept it as real. Accept it.
So what do we disagree on that?
Because it makes it happy. Well, I think you think that, okay, I disagree with the popular book of something de Ex Vito where he has this wooden characters.
Max Lucado.
That's right. And the stripes are not the stars and the dots. None of them should ever stick on you. That they shouldn't.
Yeah, you should only get your worth from God. That's what the book kind of, I'm special or whatever, but it's like when people give you negative things, you let that fall. And when people give you good stickers, I kind of live by that book.
Mm-hmm.
When somebody tries to tell me something good, I kind of let it fall. And even negative, I let it fall because I'm going to get my worth from God.
Yeah. And I get what I actually believed this, but I disagree to a point. This is my point. I feel like also there's this story about this guy. His house gets flooded and he's climbing up and he gets up onto his roof. He can't get away. He's on his roof. Somebody comes by on a boat and says, "Here, I'll take you." And he's like, "No, God's got me. I'm waiting for God." He prayed to God, asked for God to help him. The guy comes by with his boat. He says, "No, God's coming." Somebody else comes with a helicopter, drops down a rope, asks for him to come up. And he said, "No, God's got me." Somebody else comes by on a raft and says, "Hey, this is probably your last chance. You should come with me." And he's like, "No, God's got me." He drowns. He goes up to heaven and he asks God, "Why didn't you come?" And he says, "I gave you 3 chances.
I came 3 times.
I came 3 times.
Like I sent 3 people to get you.
To come and get you." So I understand the not listening to the stars to a point. Like if people are trying
stickers, she understands that. But I just feel like the less I listen to any good things, the less the bad things stick.
So I understand that, and to elevate yourself into you're better than other people. I get that.
I don't know if it's better than other people. It's
No. I'm not saying
I trust God.
I get what you're saying. I'm just saying I'm separating the stars is what I'm saying. So one stars is like trying to make you better than somebody else. That's not good. I understand that. I think that when the Lord tells you you've done a good job, you've helped somebody out and you get a good feeling from that, that's good. That's something you should hold on to and accept it. When somebody comes by and says, "Your hair looks great," accept it. Don't think, "Oh, it's really terrible. Oh, I should have done that." Let that go.
Tracy told me this. Tracy told me one time because I was like, I have such a good feeling. So I have selfish motives. I'll say things like, well, I have a selfish motive. I feel good when I do this for somebody. And she's like, "Is that really selfish? You're just getting the natural consequences of God and the universe that when you do something nice comes back, and you're getting the natural consequences of God." That she goes, that comes from God. Don't ignore the good things from God.
Mm-hmm. So maybe it's just an idea of what the stars mean, right?
Right, the good stickers.
Right. So the good sticker stars are when you've done something good and somebody tells you, accept it. When somebody says and
that's hard for me.
Yeah. So accepting those things to me are gifts from God, and you should accept them. So that's kind of, I think, where I disagree a little bit about it.
We've talked about this multiple times, and I just I found what works for me is just if I don't let any of my self-worth come from outside sources, because if I do, then it hurts too much on the opposite side.
I actually agree with that. So your self-worth should not be in compliments. Your self-worth comes from God.
I just feel like I give too much value to it, but I'm probably to the extreme. Tracy doesn't feel like I let, you know, we went to lunch with a friend of ours the other day, and we went to visit them at her condo, and she's like, do you even know how many people have influenced? And, you know, with everything that you've done with Showtime, I'm like, I can't even think about that, because I'll be honest with you. First of all, I don't think I've influenced that many people. And not only that, but I can't think like that, because I know a lot of people don't like me, and I just can't think about it, because there's too much pain attached to it too. Like, I know there's a lot of bad things that happened. I know that there's people that hate my guts, and so if I don't think about that, then this won't hurt me either. Is that weird? It's just
no. I think you're just used to doing that.
Yeah, I am.
So then you can't accept the good that comes with it.
Right. I just don't.
Yeah. So you have a hard time.
Yeah, I do have a really hard time. Yeah. But Tracy, I like what the point of this whole thing is we create our own perspective in reality. That does not mean we're not embracing reality.
Right.
We are, you know, it's like when we get a bunch of rain. Well, somebody probably prayed for that rain. We don't have to go, oh, it's doom and gloomy outside. How about somebody pray for that rain, for crops or for water or for resources? You know, we just got to change our perspective, and it will change us being happy or not happy.
Yeah.
That makes sense? Yep. Anything else you want to add?
I'm good.
So let's all go take care of our business.
Yeah. And remember the 3 businesses.
Right. Somebody else.
Stay in your own.
Yeah. Stay in your own business.
That's not to say I don't get upset. I do. My kids know this. Anybody who's around me at any amount of time
But when we realize it, and we stay in our business, we are happier. So this was an important thing that I needed to listen to today, because the more I stay in my business, the happier and more joy I feel. And when you're happy and joyful and peaceful, you serve more. You're more on who you really are. I'm not who I really am when I'm upset or hurting. That's not me. Right. When I'm in labor, that's not really me. I'm in pain. I'm hurting. I'm not a bit good use to much people when I'm in labor. But when I'm happy and joyful, I have much more purpose, much more usefulness in this life, and I can do more for people. So that's why we've got to create our life, because it's not going to, if you leave it to chance, it gives Satan too much room to have influence in our life.
Agreed.
We don't want to give him room.
Yeah.
Keep him out.
What can you control?
Right. Have a good day.
Okay.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Hope to hear from y'all. Bye.